So I have really seen a lot of my friends here in Japan talk about India ETFs. It's been going on for years. Tell us a little bit about the appetite that you're seeing out there.
Okay, thank you, Heidi, for having me from BlackRock. I can tell you from the two angles why India and why ETF. Why India? I think the story is very clear and apparent and very understandable. So India has been exhibiting strong economic growth, and this growth is backed by very clean, like long-term trends. First of all, you all know that the population of India is growing, and under 50% of population is 25. So a very favorable demographic story. And also, there's a trend of rewiring or refurbishing of a global supply chain. So corporations, they're seeking to move their operations into much friendlier geography. That's a second point. And thirdly, the nation's government has been spending capex increasingly to have much better infrastructure.
We have seen really a lot of people pour into Indian ETFs, especially with that expectation that Prime Minister Modi was going to have a landslide victory, but we didn't necessarily see that materialize. If you're talking about perhaps the optimism over some government policies, is there a concern that that might be dampened by the fact that he's received a somehow weakened mandate?
I would say story tells you that. So in the last 5 episodes for the election from 1999, so India equity has been showing improving return, especially after the 6-month period, right after the election. So I think it's not very dissimilar from the past. And also, I would want to express why India, why ETF. So ETF gives you market access through a transparent, diversified portfolio, and it comes with liquidity. And when you think about Indian equity market, it's one of the highly volatile emerging market. This is true. And secondly, investors, especially retail investors, have limited access towards the market. And thirdly, I think if you're retail investors, you will have harder time gathering information around individual companies or individual stock. That means, all in all, it really makes sense for investors to utilize index investment ETFs as a vehicle.
What gives BlackRock a competitive edge over other ETFs focused on India?
So if you think about India or any other region, so if you step back, Asia market, India or Japan market, we're providing market access for investors to build or to construct a well-diversified portfolio. So it's not about specifically towards India, but rather we are providing market access with a transparent vehicle to construct a well-diversified portfolio to both institutional and retail investors as well.
When it comes to India ETFs, how do they compare in appeal to, say, broader emerging market ETFs?
India market versus emerging market. Mm-hmm. So when you think about anyone's portfolio, you would want to have well-diversified portfolio with global equity as well as global fixed income. So we're not just not only offering investors specified or specific exposure A versus B, but rather we want to offer a set of products ranges to build your asset over time through constructing a whole portfolio.
Tell us a little bit about the understanding the Japanese investors, especially retail investors that you mentioned, have when it comes to investing in the markets. And is this becoming a more prevalent culture where everybody is trying to get their assets in and buy ETFs, especially given that we have an aging society that needs more money for retirement?
So the Japan government, led by Prime Minister Kishida's leadership, so the government have a revamped Japan NISA program. And the government is aiming to mobilize over $1 trillion household savings into investment. And we also have seen a little bit of green shoots of that mobility. So if you look at, so we have seen money pouring into low-cost index, and we understand that over 90% the destination is global equity as well as U.S. equities. And if you step back, I think BlackRock would want to think about how we can help these people to become or experience financial well-being. I think the solution is providing better services, providing better solutions, or work through our business partners, them to provide better services and better solutions. And ETF is a critical building blocks to construct the whole portfolio.
When it comes to these measures that the government has taken, or the Tokyo Stock Exchange as well, including, of course, the NISA accounts, we continue to see this optimism about perhaps a reform happening in the markets that really can return more to shareholders. Do you see that optimism and that sort of exuberance domestically as well from investors that perhaps are more interested now in the Japanese stock market, not just going overseas?
Definitely, yes. So ETF act as a vehicle to move exposures instantly, but we would expect more demand to come, both in domestically and outside of Japan, through actively managed mandate or fund as well. And I think that's a testament of investors, showing more interest into more individual corporation, Japan corporation as well.